Hey everyone, this is Georgia from Tippy.com. Welcome to our weekly show focused on everything iPad, from news and how-tos to app and accessory reviews. This is iPad Live.
iPad Live is brought to you by the iPad Accessory Store, your one-stop shop for cases, cables, chargers, and much, much more. Visit store.tippy.com. See you there.
It's Sunday, November 13th, and joining us tonight is the co-host of Iterate and the CIO of Nickelfish. When he is not spamming me on Twitter, it's Seth Clifford.
Hello, Georgia. How are you?
I'm good, Seth. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Had a busy weekend, but I'm winding down, feeling all right.
Well, excellent, because we have an amazing show for today.
Good.
And joining us is the editor-in-chief of Tippy.com and my co-host on Zen and Tech, Renee Ritchie.
How's it going, Georgia?
It's going really nice. I like the little cutscenes there.
Yeah, we've got lower thirds, baby. You gotta like it or love it because it's the best thing going today.
We have some new, if we did not have already not enough podcasts, well, this might make it almost enough. We have Stock Talk, where we talk about stock.
Actually, that was a really fascinating show. We launched that on Thursday with Chris Umiastowski and Edward Zabitsky, and they're both analysts and consultants where it comes to like mobile technology and the RIM stock, the Apple stock, the Google stock, and it was a really fascinating show. We talked about HTML5 and LTE and how those affect secondary and tertiary businesses and who's going to make money in the future. And it's going to be up soon. It was a debut episode. And not only that, we now have video feeds for almost every one of our shows. You can subscribe to the video version via RSS or via iTunes. And there's more! We have the Mobile Nations United feed, so you can get every show in audio and every show in video. Deal with it.
And you can also circle in on Google Plus pages.
Yeah, this I'm almost as excited about. Google Plus launched Pages.
Almost as excited.
Yeah, they have Pages now, just like Facebook launched, I think, years ago, and with half the functionality.
Mm-hmm.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Single administrator, no ability to do very much with them, but they're there, and you can go over to Facebook. Sorry, not to Facebook. That was a Freudian slap. You can go over to Google Plus, and you can circle us. You can plus us. You can whatever. I forget what the nomenclature is, but hook up with us, and eventually we'll figure out what to do. Maybe we'll put the Tippy feed in it or something.
Do I have to get a Google Plus account?
Yes.
The one thing I noticed that's actually pretty convenient is that it's real easy to switch between your personal account and the page account. Yes. Whereas on Facebook, you have to go to the page and then say, use this as this, and then sometimes, well, I guess it's kind of the same. Never mind.
But I mean, like, if you make a Nickelfish Google Plus page and then Justin wants to do anything with it, he is out of luck.
Yeah. I actually made one the other day when it came out, just because I was like, I've got 5 minutes, I'll do this.
You're stuck with it forever.
Put a high-res icon up and just walked away.
Seth
hung out for a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
Seth walked into Google Plus out of the heart of the great growing West, and when his work was done, he walked back from whence he had come, and he was Seth.
All he left was an empty whiskey glass.
Yeah, and a dirty sink.
I don't want to know about the dirty sink. That's okay.
Yeah, too much information. Well, we're starting off wonderfully tonight.
Let's get going.
That it is. Let's go on to Apple releasing iOS 5.0n for the masses. And did it or did it not actually fix the problems that people have been complaining about battery life?
Tell me, Georgia, did you install it?
No.
Did you install it on your iPad at least?
Seth, how about you?
You haven't even updated your iPad?
Really?
It's just sitting there with this lonely little icon just blinking saying, update me. All you have to do is push a button. You don't even have to plug it in anymore.
I know, and I not only anything else, I say not now.
Okay, well, anyway, I updated, and I really wasn't having too many problems before, and it seems to be about the same for me, but we've been getting mixed responses from people, right? Some people are saying, it's 100 million trillion% better. Other people are saying it's worse.
Can I walk us back for a second? Because this is the first official for the public over-the-air update. We had some during the betas, but this is the first time ever that a rank-and-file civilian can press a button and update their device on the device in place without iTunes. I think, you know, and the joke going around is yes, Android has been doing this for years. Nokia invented it in 1812, but every single iPad got the update at the same time. It wasn't some iPads did and some iPads didn't. Didn't take a week to trickle update. Apple pushed a giant big red server button and boom, everyone could get iOS 5.0.1 on device.
Mm-hmm. My wife saw the notification come up and she saw it on her screen and she turned to me and goes, Should I do this? And I said, yes, you should do it.
You're darn right you should
take?
It was very exciting. I said, yeah, I already did it. It's fine. It's no big deal. And she was like, oh, okay. But it was one of those moments where I got a little squeamish.
You know, it's not just that it's fine. I mean, it is an excellent experience. You get either a pop-up notification or you get a little badge on the settings app. You tap on it, you tap to install the update, and it just downloads. It doesn't download, you know, hundreds of megabytes of the entire software anymore. It just downloads the bit differential, the delta file, the differences between one and the other, and it updates it in place. You don't have to back up and then restore the backup. Whatever you had on your machine, as soon as it reboots, that stuff is there, footloose and iTunes free.
Yeah, mine was flawless. It was awesome.
And how long did it take?
5 minutes.
Probably in total, like 7 minutes, maybe.
Yeah. But unlike the beta, you have to be on Wi-Fi. In the beta, you could do it over 3G, which took longer. Yeah. But I believe the carriers get uptight if they do anything over 20 megabytes over 3G. So you have to do it on Wi-Fi. And if you're below 50% battery, no matter what, it'll warn you to go on to plug in to do the update. But if you're below 50%, I believe it forces you to plug in to a battery.
And it'll just stall. It'll just wait. As you do that?
Because the worst thing that can happen is you run out of battery in mid-update, because then you'll be you'll be like Schrodinger's update, neither alive nor dead, in some quantum state of flux.
Well, what would happen? Say that your phone dies in mid-update when you plug it back in. It'll continue where it left off.
No, it may brick itself.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably do a full restore on iTunes to fix it, but it would be in an unknown state, and that would be bad.
And chances are you'd have to enter DFU mode.
DFU mode, Georgia.
Don't even. That just makes me shiver. Oh, that's horrible.
But we put up a how-to on how to do it, though. In case anyone's not certain or is worried or concerned, you can go to tippy.com/tips, and we have a walkthrough of how to do the update over the air.
Yeah, if it makes you a little scared, you can take a peek, and we'll walk you right through it.
If you don't have a hubby named Seth to turn to and ask if it's okay, we'll be your hubby named Seth.
You can still turn to me and ask me on Twitter, and I'll give you a Twitter hug and tell you it'll all be okay.
That's always worth it.
Yeah, totally.
People have been complaining about this update in having the fact that you cannot disable your 3G anymore.
That's always been the case in iOS 5. Apple's kind of all in on 3G now, and people used to do it. I think that was, again, one of those folklore things. I'm sure it saved some battery, but 2G is a horrible experience. You can't do simultaneous voice and data. It's incredibly slow. It's not how Apple plays cricket.
The only time I ever turned 3G off was when I noticed my phone bouncing between 3G and Edge, like in an area that I didn't spend a lot of time, like if I was traveling or something, and I needed to either check mail or make a phone call, and I thought, this is fruitless. I'm just going to do this because I know the signal's here. But generally speaking, especially nowadays, it's probably not even necessary anymore on the hardware and with the network the way it is. So yeah, I know people will say, well, we don't even have 3G here yet, but it's Apple's kind of looking at this phone and looking at the current state of the network and probably saying, like, this is not something you need to do.
Yeah, why turn off 3G when AT&T is more than happy to turn it off for you?
Well, if you are down to a really small amount of battery life, you can live without it, and it will help.
So let's put this in perspective, though. I mean, if you bought an iPad 3G, you bought an iPad 3G. You didn't buy an iPad Edge. iPads are not like phones. They're not designed to always they're not. Most iPads aren't always on the network. They're Wi-Fi only devices. So if you have an iPad 3G, you probably wanted it for a reason. And downturning it to Edge, I don't think it's an iPad issue. I just don't.
Okay, perhaps it's not an iPad issue, could be more of a phone issue, but either way, any time, as Netflix has figured out, every time you give something to someone and then decide to take it away in an update, people get upset.
It's the floppy drive, Georgia. It's the floppy drive of iPhone 5. So Apple
You can
decided
call
you
it
don't need it.
quick whatever you want, but people don't like the fact that they've lost the functionality of something that they may have or may not have used.
Do you think that, because I know I didn't have any trouble with battery life on iOS 5. I don't believe Seth did either. Georgia has no idea what battery life on iOS 5 is like. I have no trouble with battery life on iOS 5.1. I don't think Seth does either. Georgia has no idea what battery life is like on iOS 5.1. But we still have people complaining about it, and Apple is actually investigating whether there are remaining issues for 5.0.1. So does this mean they didn't stomp it? Like Apple was there stomping on these battery bugs, and a couple like circled between their legs or hid behind them or something, trying to find the last remaining battery issues.
It's a strange thing. There must be some issue with the battery life if Apple is speaking out, which again they don't usually do, and saying that there might be an issue with this. Doesn't this specifically say that there must be? There's no way that Apple would make any public statement about anything that might not actually be an issue, unless it was an issue.
I think they're taking such a pounding. I mean, you did a poll. What were the results of your poll?
One sec. Let me take a peek because I don't know what the final results of the poll were.
I love that picture of Phil Schiller just standing there next to the battery life. It just warms me.
Okay, on iOS 5.01, 9% say great, everything has been fixed. 21% say it's okay. 30% say the same. 20% say the same, I still have problems. And 8% say worse. And then 5% say terrible, went from bad to worse. And then 7% say I hate polls. I'm not going to answer this.
We have a battery? Wait a minute. Checking. Hold, please. But so great fixed everything is like 9%. People who were fine but fine before, 21%. And 29% weren't having problems. If you put all that together, that's, I don't know, I suck at math, but that's 30, 20, 50. That's like 60% of people who have absolutely no problems, 20% who still have problems, and then some people who are, really, really badly off. Does that seem like, I don't know, Seth, what could this be?
My guess is actually that it's got to have something to do with a bunch of different location-y things. Like there's a lot more granularity in the location settings now, and part of me thinks that it's connected to that there's just something that's running amok and causing problems there, because there's a lot of talk about turning some of those switches off and people saying that's helped, but then other people say it hasn't helped. iOS 5 in and of itself has a lot of different things going on. It's a big change from iOS 4. That's where a lot of things changed. There's a lot more apps that kind of hook into that at a low level, reminders being one of them. And if you look at your location settings, there's about a half dozen switches in there for all kinds of different arcane things that most users probably don't even need to think about.
Traffic.
Yeah, my money's on that, just because whenever you have a battery drain and it's not something really specific, like an app that's misbehaving or a rogue process or something, location just eats up battery regardless if you're using a map and your thing is pinging all the time. So if you're asking, and you are, that's my guess.
See, and Georgia knows that I was complaining bitterly about during the betas, and I don't complain in public because I believe the betas are sacrosanct. Like, you decided to sign up for a beta, you don't complain about betas.
So you should never be able to complain about Google then.
Ooh, brilliant. They should hire you. No, actually, no, we can't afford to give you up. But on my iPad, battery life was atrocious on the betas. Like, you're supposed to have 30 days of standby. I had like a couple hours of standby. I could watch the thing drop. But when the released version came out, I did what Georgia always says to do in her tips. I restored it as new, and it's been phenomenal ever since. So I still think that's the best advice ever. Restore it as new. I know people hate it. They lose all their saves. They lose all this stuff. But if battery life is killing you, that's the nuclear option.
Yeah.
And people are asking if there's something that, in the 4S that will be different, or iOS 5 that is different. I think that Seth is right. Definitely the location is a big deal. I don't think that the extra infrared sensor for Siri is really a large drain. Of course, you can always choose to turn that off and turn it off. But I think that people are using their phones so much more, and turning on your phone actually does take up a good amount of battery life as everything kind of gets censored in and mobilized. So, I think that it's just due to mostly using your phone a lot more. So we should take a look and see which programs are the biggest battery drains and put out a little how-to on that.
I agree.
I turned that raise to talk thing for Siri off just because I could never see myself using that. Like, I always want to hold it in my hand and look at the little thing come up.
Save it for Wednesday. If you want to find out about iPhones, save it for Wednesday. We have a whole separate show for that, people. You have to tune in again. We're not giving you a freebie.
So
no milk for free.
No milk for free. Though there is a hidden autocorrect word bar, which kind of gets me a little bit excited because I can't spell. It's not my natural skill at spelling. But it doesn't seem to be really helpful, and it seems to be difficult to enable. You don't need to do it with a jailbreak, which is great. But its usefulness seems to be a little bit of a factor.
Can we get Georgia to hack a plist file live on the show?
Let's do it, Georgia.
I would for the entertainment values, but it might be slightly traumatic for me. Well, it misses the space bar. It goes through a whole bunch of different words as you go through it, but people that have enabled it are not thrilled with this. Do you think, Seth, that this is just something that has been left in because they're thinking about perhaps trying it out and they did not take it out of iOS 5? They just kind of left it in?
Yeah, quite honestly, I haven't heard that people aren't thrilled with it because the 6 people that probably spent the time to edit the plist file did it for that reason alone, just because they could. So I didn't realize.
Friends.
Yeah, I didn't realize people were unimpressed with the autocorrect bar hack. But why is it not in there?
Three of the 6.
Okay.
Not happy.
It's probably because if people aren't... Well, why is it still there and we don't see it? It's probably because Apple wasn't happy with the way that it was performing and decided to, for lack of a better term, comment out that code so that it's there, but it's not there. So... obviously, this plist will enable it, just like we saw the panorama thing can be enabled with a similar hack. And it's probably, when it came time to release everything, they probably felt, you know what, we could probably still make this a little bit better. Let's just turn it off for now.
Is it? Because I don't remember. I use it on my Nexus 1, but people are saying it's very Android-y, but it doesn't seem exactly like Android to me.
Yeah, Android has...
And how is it different?
Well, it's hard to tell because it's mostly static images, and I haven't done the plist hack yet either. I'm not Dr. Sheldon Cooper. I have not enabled it yet. But it's just it looks out of it doesn't look iOS-y to me. Like, I'm sure Apple will release it, and I'll go, oh yeah, it's great, and I'll be accused of being a fanboy because now that Apple's done it, it's fantastic. And I know the way that it works now is a pain in the apps. But
I hate the way that it works now. It's counterintuitive to me.
Yeah, because you have to disable it, right? Not enable it.
Right. It chooses it for you. I'd like it to be the other way around, that you choose the words. I guess it depends how poorly you spell. Because now I'm getting used to not typing in something and then you see the word that it thinks that you should be saying, and if you continue typing, it will change it for you. Whereas what I used to be used to, and my natural nature is that it types in something, it pops up a word saying, no, really, did you mean this?
Yeah.
And then you can choose to use it if it's so properly
and
set,
God forbid you don't authorize a correction once, it'll never offer that correction again, even if you might need it. It's like the soup Nazi.
Yes, autocorrect fail would be just very sad.
Yeah.
They fixed that up.
Or could this...
But would this be actually changing that? Would this be a subsequent manner in which to type if you can enable it, or do you think that this will be replacing the manner in which they fix words right now?
I like Seth's take on this, but my opinion is that it's getting too complicated because now it does the autocorrect. You can press backspace. It'll offer you a different word. It'll give the suggested words. It's just that little tiny pop-up is trying to do too much. It's trying to be too many things. It's trying to be Oprah. And it's not very Apple-y. And I think this is an attempt, maybe an experiment, like we've seen Apple try different experimental UI before, an experiment to make a simpler, saner approach to autocorrect.
It'll probably end up being a setting under keyboard, like the international stuff, and having the double tap the space bar to add a period and having caps lock enabled. It'll probably just be stuck in there eventually if they decide to release it. They may release an update to the OS that strips this out completely. Like, you may never see it again if they decide it's just not going to happen.
It could be. It could be like that expose mode in iOS 4 that we didn't get. We got the
Yeah.
multitasking bar instead.
I would have liked that.
Me too. Tiny Vader fists.
We have some more rumors. Apple Store Genius bars are replacing their MacBook Pros with perhaps
Dum dum dum.
iPads.
What do you think, George? It's a giant iOS win. I mean, is this the end of the MacBook? Is it?
I don't think that it's the end of the MacBook. Don't really. I think that in the end, some people will prefer to use something that is lighter weight and easy to carry around and takes up less space, and some people like something that will stand up easily and have a keyboard that's a hard keyboard. So I think that it should be up to the choice of the people that are working the Apple stores. Does it really matter to me one way or another? Not really. Like, I don't think that it means that iPads are going to be replacing Macs.
Their theory is that the iPad is cheaper and smaller. So, for example, if a Genius Bar now can fit 3 MacBook Pros or 4 MacBook Pros, they could have 6 or 8 iPads and have 6 or 8 Geniuses handling customers at the same time. So it'll allow them to see more customers at once.
Why I don't think that is going to happen is because of the amount, like, already people are, if they were free, they could go to any of the Macs that are in the store if they so wished, if they wanted to help someone, which they often do, at least at the Apple store where we usually go to. And they're not going to be hiring more people to work at the store, and they have enough Macs in the entire store in order to help people with. So I don't know if that's really going to make a huge difference one way or another.
I don't know. iPad winning. I'm not going to be sad about that. They replaced all the little billboards, all the little store signs with iPads. Now they're replacing the Macs with iPads. What's next? The tables? The tables will be giant iPads. The manager will be an iPad.
I love the big giant table iPad thing already.
I got a little tour of that when those iPad installations rolled out from our business rep. He kind of walked me through the software and showed me everything that it did. And having him explain it, it's great. So if they can do that kind of thing, like basically take, the retail side of it and make it that much easier to interact with, and just do that for the geniuses and maybe save a little space, I'm sure they probably will. And obviously, my thought is that what are the geniuses doing with the MacBook Pros now that they wouldn't be able to do with an iPad, even with custom software? Like, are they going to be able to, on the spot restore an iPhone with an iPad that's running the special software like they would on a MacBook Pro? Or, like if you bring a MacBook Pro in, and let's just say they were like, okay, well, you know what, let's put it into target disk mode and get some files off. Are they going to be able to do things like that with the iPad, or is it going to be, oh, well, you know what, we got to bring this in the back or talk to somebody else about this? Like, is this kind of like a first line of defense thing?
I don't think that this means that they would be getting rid of the Pros altogether. I think that they're just scaling down the number of them, because there's definitely some things that you're going to be able to do on your Pro that you're not going to be able to do on the iPad, which are essential for someone that's at the store.
Yeah.
That's why I would imagine, to the store, because they're able
I would
to
imagine they've probably done, they've probably looked at, in the aggregate, how many people come in for what kinds of things, and said, well, we can actually service, 80% of this stuff with this particular piece of diagnostic software that we're going to build, and then we can save money, time, resource, whatever,
I think it's. I mean, this is the thing.
They already have so many.
It takes me back to the original iPad introduction when Steve Jobs came out and he said, we think that there's a category between the smartphone and the computer, but it has to be able to do some things way better than either one of those. So Apple obviously thinks that there will be some things that being able to reach out and tap and slide and drag will be faster, lighter, cheaper to do than a MacBook Pro. I don't know. I'd be interested to see what they do with it, though. You think George, like, just standing there and tapping through giant, big targets on a glass screen is maybe just faster for them than having to type everything into a keyboard all the time?
I don't think so because in the end they don't have specialized stands for the iPad, so
Oh, I'm
it
sure they
takes up
will. You don't think Apple's going to
perhaps.
do it? I'm sure. They'll be like floating stands, or they'll be suspended from the ceiling.
I don't think so. I think that they'll probably just leave them onto the countertop. They take up about the same amount of space. Plus, it's a little bit slower using a glass keyboard than it is to use a hard keyboard. So I don't think that they would save much on time. I don't think that it would be more efficient because there'd be certain things that someone will suddenly ask for a genius to do, as they always do, and they won't be able to do it on the iPad, and they'll have to wait for then a Mac, which there might now be a waiting list for, though there's tons of Macs in the store, but someone else might be already at the Mac playing. So I think that this would be something that would have to be very specialized. I don't see it happening en masse.
We shall see.
Though, still would be totally cool if they had one of those big butt tables.
Big-ass tables.
Yeah, that I would be waiting for. If that could do that and scan documents, when we can get iPads to scan documents and then the document is on the iPad all on its own, that would be
Future,
we have
Georgia.
that.
iPad 3.
Yeah, she means where you can like hold the paper against it,
Oh, just put the paper on the screen of the iPad.
Oh,
like in the movies,
okay.
Seth.
Like in the
Yes.
movies. Got it.
Like in the funny books.
Or on the Microsoft Vaporware video.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'll take either. So some other things Apple has made people a little bit antsy about, and that is deleting the beta iTunes Match libraries happening. And this happens yesterday. People, can I say, Renee, not pleased?
No, I'm so confused because they were supposed to release iTunes Match in October, and it's obviously been delayed. Then they said they're going to delete all the iTunes Match beta library. So people thought, oh, that means it's going to come out. But then what did they do? They released iTunes 10.5.1 Beta 3 so that developers can continue testing iTunes Match. And I don't know if they had to delete them because the new version does something different in the library files. But it just seems like Apple's, and from scattered reports of people who've been giving their experiences with it, it's still not ready for prime time. And that's unusual. Usually Apple ships, so I'm a little bit confused.
Well, people who are having problems with iTunes Match not being able to fully match their songs and having freeze-ups and other things, so no doubt there were issues already with it and why they were not able to go live. It's sad, though, that, and again, yes, you're right, it's a beta, but having people have to lose their libraries and have to go back through the process again, especially if you weren't paying attention and didn't know about it.
You paid $30. You deserve to jump through hoops.
Well, yeah, and some people did. Some people had paid for 3 months of service.
Well, no, everyone had to pay. Everyone had to pay for a year too. They had to pay the full $30 in order to beta test it.
Right. I'm sorry. And so some people, Apple had said that they're going to get 3 months free or off of the service. I don't know.
Okay,
Pay for
but
a beta?
let's not overlook something. This is still a beta service. Betas have problems. You joined up for a beta of software, and Apple has continuously warned you, hey, your library may be deleted, make sure you back it up. Hey, heads up, we're going to be deleting the iCloud data this weekend, so make sure everything's backed up. I don't understand why people are so bent out of shape about this.
I think that the reason that they're bent out of shape, Seth, is that most betas are free. And people don't mind testing something out for free, doing work for Apple, and then losing their things. But once you ask people to say, listen, it's beta, but, hand over your money, people get a little bit upset because not only are they doing work for Apple and having to pay for it, but then having their libraries being deleted can become a little bit annoying. And you're right, it is a beta and people knew what they were signing up for beforehand, but having to pay a good deal of money, it wasn't a, exceptionally low cost. It wasn't hugely expensive, but then to lose all your libraries is kind of upsetting. People paid for a service.
Are you guys happy with the idea that Apple is taking their time, though, that instead of getting it out right now, they're trying to get it right? Is that the strategy they should be doing?
Yeah, absolutely, because think of what other companies would do. They would release it and then backpedal and release patches and have to do damage control just because they wanted it to be out there. So they're taking their time, they're getting it right. It'll be out when it's done.
I think that you could say, it's great they're taking their time and doing it right and so that it's going to be done. If that's what you really believe is happening, and perhaps that is what's happening, perhaps, they're not putting enough resources into this to
don't
get
say
it out.
Wait, I'm waiting.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to say that anymore.
Okay.
I get into trouble every time
good.
I mention it. But perhaps they're not using their resources properly. But again, you're making people pay, and then you're taking a really long time. You've already told people how long that they were in for, which everyone expected till October. They paid their money. They expected till October. Now it's November, and maybe they're waiting to get it right, or maybe they're just not being effective in the manner in which they're doing.
I'm so proud of
That's people.
of the effort you put into maintaining this relationship, this image of an Apple hater. I think that your legion of detractors are going to be incredibly enthused.
Yes, I'm probably going to get spammed for it.
Troll
flame on. But it's true. We can say Apple's doing X, Y, or Z, but in the end, they didn't put out a service that people expected, and they're making people pay for it.
Well, developers.
It's not cool.
Or developers, people. No, I take that back. Wait. Sorry, Seth.
Yeah, but I have to just say this. They're making people pay for it. They're not making people do anything. People have a choice. They don't have to do this. If they want to be part of this program, they become part of the program, and they go, well, I paid $30 to get into this advanced thing I can brag to my friends about, and it's not quite ready yet. Apple did not come to people's houses with firearms and make them join the program.
I agree. I think that you're absolutely right. People decided to do that, but they decided to do it for a certain amount of time. Apple set a date, and they didn't come through on their end of the bargain. Should people be upset? Yeah, I can understand why people would be upset.
I could understand that given the time frame. Like, okay, you said it was going to be in October. It's not October anymore. I could see people being disappointed, but this really isn't for consumers. Like every other Apple beta, it's supposed to be for developers. And like every other Apple beta, people who are not developers get into it and then get in over their head or find that it's not quite the experience they hoped, and then
they blame us.
They
do. They actually blame us. No, they said it to Tippy. Yeah, really angry, and then they do. They blame us. I'm not joking. She's laughing. I'm not. I got the angry email.
Renee actually is the one that decided for the iTunes beta, so send him email if you are upset.
I got enough already.
Renee@tippy.com. Go ahead.
Yeah. Can you please just tell me when iTunes Match is starting? I know you know. Break exclusive this, buddy.
So I would assume that neither of you guys are upset about losing.
No, I mean, I just played around with it. I stuck some stuff in there, but see, this is the thing, because you always pay for betas with Apple. I mean, if you develop software for iOS and you're in the iOS betas, it's $100 a year. So I think people are just used to that. It was odd, like it did seem odd to have a paid beta for iTunes Match, but the S word happens, even to Apple. I mean, Mobile Me happened, right? So I think it's moderately irksome that it didn't ship when it was supposed to ship, but it only exists in the U.S. anyway. We're not going to get it in any other country, and I don't know how big of a public product it'll be. I think it'll be rather a niche product at first. So I think people like to get angry. I think you often hear from people when they're angry.
Yeah, we definitely do, and it only costs $24.99 a year, which is not a lot of money, and you can store all your music, hopefully very soon, in the cloud.
All your American music.
Your filthy American music.
Yes, your American music. I'm glad you enjoy what your ABBA and your Nickelback. We are not going to use it here.
Well, switching to something else that makes me happy and that I love, Facebook, is to switch from being opt-out to opt-in to better protect our personal data. Why don't I feel encouraged by this?
Because the U.S. government had to force them under penalty of massive fine, and for a 10-year period of 10 or 20 years period of supervision, I think it's 10 years, to abide by this, similar to what they did with Google and to a greater extent than what they did with Twitter.
And Seth, are you a huge Facebook user?
Well, no. I'm a Facebook user in that I have an account and I occasionally look at it. I would not say I'm a huge user. I have about 13 pictures up there that have been there since I started a couple years ago. I go on and make snarky comments about other people's statuses and things like that. I'm not a heavy user at all.
You're just a casual user. Your social networking is casual. Completely,
I can
completely
quit
under control.
anytime I want.
Now,
It's a weekend
did you have to
thing.
pay $24.99 for? No. Now,
You have to pay your soul.
did you have to? Now, do you have to go and are you automatically now switched to opt out?
No, it hasn't happened yet. So what happened is the Federal Trade Commission was investigating Facebook the way they investigated Google, and Google agreed to a settlement, and I believe Twitter. So Google is being supervised for 20 years, I believe every second year, Twitter for 10 years, and Facebook is being investigated, and the settlement that they're putting before the judge is for a 20-year period where they'll switch to opt-in, but I don't believe the judge has accepted it yet, so it's not in force yet. But what they would do is they would like change the privacy things, and everyone would suddenly be like exposed, like your robe would be torn open, and then you'd have to really scurry around to try to figure out how to close it again before people laughed at you. And now it's getting a little bit more human and decent.
So do you think that the manner in which it would work would be that everyone would be suddenly opted into the default, and then you would have to manually go back and switch it if you so wish?
I don't know. You might do going retroactive versus going forward. I don't know. They haven't said. That's an interesting question. Because with Google, they just stopped doing old services and started doing new ones. Like Buzz went away, Wave went away, and Google Plus came in. But Facebook is going to... Well, I guess Facebook has a new timeline product ready to ship. Maybe they'll start it with the new timeline product.
Well, let's go on to something that makes Seth happy. Adobe has also killed Flash for TV. Go ahead, Seth. Rant on.
There's no rant. I'm gonna drink to that.
Not only did they kill Flash for TV, but Logitech announced that they're stopping making the Review, which was one of the big Android television products. I guess semi-competitive with Apple TV, but a really different kind of offering. And it's kind of sad because I think it's better when we have competition for these things. And not to get all ranty with it, I think that this is another case where Google deliberately made a decision that was against the best interests of their customers because it was better for their own quasi-hostile agenda, and it ended up biting them in the ass, just like they did with net neutrality and Verizon. They got in bed with Adobe just to have a checkbox they could use in poorly made advertising, and it didn't work out. I think they would have been much better 2 years ago to eschew Flash, go all in on HTML5, and then everybody would have benefited from HTML5 having 2 years of concerted Google development behind it. And I say that to Palm and to Rim as well. I think we're slower and further behind because of their lack of consideration for their users and for the moving forward of technology.
Talking about technology, TV, Flash, and everything else, what about the Samsung thinks that they're gonna beat Apple to making the unified television set?
Sony.
Sony. The unified television set that Apple hasn't even made yet. I thought that was just brilliant.
I think that Apple is probably making a television set just because Steve Jobs said that Apple is making a TV set. Just because Steve Jobs said that before the iPhone and iPad, Apple was working on a TV set. Sony's Howard Stringer, who's been successful at driving that company into an iceberg the size of the one that sunk Titanic, now believes Apple might be working on a TV set.
And so they're gonna rush off and beat Apple to this. Yeah.
Are they a software company, Seth? Do you have any indication over the last 10 years of their performance that they're anything approaching being a software company?
Who, Sony?
Yes.
Well, let's see. The last time I heard Sony's name associated with software, it had something to do with rootkits.
Well, I mean,
no.
the PS3 has a nice crossbar interface, but I haven't seen Sony set the consumer like they haven't been setting the agenda since Howard Stringer came on board. They were great with the Trinitron and the Walkman. They had a whole generation of fantastic products, and now they've just been fumbling.
Oh yeah, growing up, you didn't even really, if you didn't want to, you didn't even have to really shop around. If you just wanted great electronics, like maybe the best in class, you just went and paid a little more and got a Sony, and the thing was absolutely rock solid, top to bottom, would last forever and never die. And I think that, I don't know if they've kind of lost focus, or if they've spread focus, or if things are just different internally, but whether it's directly related to the products or people's perception, that's not the case anymore. And it's kind of a bummer because Sony was an epic company, when we were growing up.
Do you own anything Sony, Seth?
Do I?
Do you, George?
Aside from you mean currently?
Yeah, I have a Sony television and I have a PlayStation 3, so I do have quite a bit of Sony still.
No, I probably don't have anything lately.
Did have a TV at one point, I'm thinking.
No, you see, that's the thing. Everyone used to have.
I have Sony speakers.
Everyone who used to be into
Surround
technology used to
sound.
have Sony, and now I don't think very many people do.
Yeah, I have Sony surround sound. There we go.
It used to be about the music, and now Howard Stringer is drunk and British and yelling slag off and throwing one-liners at newspapers.
Oh, you know what?
It might push Apple. Again, anything that pushes my tech, I'm happy with.
Me too.
The headphones I'm wearing are Sony, and they're actually very good.
Nice.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
my
nice.
Sony headphones. Like them. I like them.
Yeah, no, they're good. Sony can still accidentally cronk out a good product.
Yeah.
It's true.
Crunk.
Yes, it's true.
That's the opposite of crump.
Yeah. It's crumping out the tech. Don't make me crump, Georgia.
Please, could you crump? Everyone will then have to get the video. They'll have to watch the video to see Renee crump.
Yes, I'm gonna crump, but Georgia's gonna do the robot. Seth is gonna do the
I'm gonna look on in horror. Is what I'm gonna do.
I know you have a Roger Rabbit in you or a Cabbage Patch, Seth. You can dance like Angel.
I'll bust a move later.
What else you got for me?
Well, something else that's coughing up in the Nook in the tablet market is the Nook tablet.
Well played.
Which is, are you gonna play it for us?
Oh, the video. No, I didn't get any video on this. I didn't think it was. They didn't show anything. I watched the video and it was like Phil's hand on a tablet. No, it was Phil's hand with nail polish on a tablet for 5 minutes. It didn't do much.
Phil's hand with nail polish. That's when he wears it with his chaps.
Yeah, I mean, they talked about it on Android Central, and Phil believes that the big advantage that the Nook has over Amazon is that they have physical stores like Apple stores, so people can go into them and they can see the product and touch the product. And even though Amazon has a massive website, Barnes and Nobles has this retail presence. It's a very similar tablet to the Fire. It's pretty much another fork of Android, which I'm going to ask Seth about, because Seth did an excellent article on that the other day. But I don't think Barnes and Nobles has the momentum to take on Amazon. I think the Kindle Fire is going to take a lot of air out of that space, and that'll be the alternative.
So yeah, I think.
Go ahead, George.
Well, just that the double the storage, the fact that it has a small slot, micro SD slot. It looked nice. It worked out well. I think the sad part is just the numbers of applications that it doesn't use Android's markets.
Yeah, I don't think they have the reach. What was your article was about?
Like 100 like apps that they have right now, or something like that. Like it was a really small number, and they're like they'll have many more after. I was like, ugh.
Tonnage. Yeah. Your article about this was really cool, Seth. It was I don't know if it was a diatribe, a manifesto, a rant.
It was actually just something I was thinking about. I was driving into work that day and was just thinking about why the Kindle Fire is the way it is and why other Android tablets haven't caught on. And I kind of, I'll put the link in the chat just so people can see what I'm talking about. I thought about what forking the OS actually means and why more people haven't done it. So up until now, Android software has been essentially differentiated, and that was kind of it. Like the hardware was a big differentiator, and the customization of the software was another way that companies did that. But what Amazon did was vastly different in that they forked the OS to basically suit their own needs with a completely custom interface. And the reason they're able to do that and other companies aren't is because when you do that, you're effectively cut off from Google services and the Android market in many cases. And so content is really the thing that is going to decide how these tablets play out. And Amazon has a lot of content, and that's the Kindle Fire is a window to all that content. So the Nook tablet has a lot of content. Barnes & Noble has a definite advantage in the face-to-face retail installations in that people can go in and play with them, and it's a very similar feeling to when you go to an Apple store and you're able to get hands on it and people can walk you through how the device works. So I think the Kindle Fire will sell more, but I think the Nook tablet is a definite contender in that there is content and people will buy it because people bought Nooks. I didn't think the Nook was going to do well, but it did really well. And I think that it's going to be a very interesting battle between those two because there's content in both places. Amazon has more, but Amazon doesn't have the store presence that Barnes & Noble does.
Yeah, and the interesting thing that Phil went over too is, and they're saying it in the chat room, is that Barnes and Nobles was also making fun of the Kindle Fire because it's in a playbook body, going, "Look, where have we seen this before? We saw how successful this has been." So they're revving up for a battle. You think it's still a battle for number two, Georgia? Do you think that it's still a wide open space? Anybody could be number two at this point?
I think that both have a really good chance of doing it. The Nook has double the storage. It's faster. It's neither of them have 3G. Again, Seth, is it true that we have to, for Kindle Fire to become part of the Amazon market, you have to end up paying $80 a year?
No, that's just if you want the Prime stuff.
Okay, so it's not free.
What's not free?
Prime.
No, Amazon Prime is not free. You get a free trial, and then you basically can get... Well, the thing about Amazon Prime is that you get like free 2-day shipping on almost everything.
But isn't it weird to combine shipping with media? Because I find that odd. Like, what if I don't need shipping from Amazon? I just want media. I gotta pay Prime to get the media benefits.
Well, Amazon added video streaming to their Prime accounts a while ago, and so that's another thing that they're going to be giving Kindle Fire users is the video streaming on those devices as part of your membership.
It's odd. It's like paying for one-to-one service at Apple and getting better songs. Just one of these things are not like the other.
Just as a point of clarity, Lloyd said earlier in the chat room, the consumer doesn't know or care about the fork or the OS, period. That I may have been speaking around my point, so just to clarify, that wasn't about consumers caring about that stuff, but consumers will not buy a device that does not have apps. Nowadays, if you can't download apps, that device is dead. It's an island unto itself. And if you have no Android market, you don't have apps. So that device is not going to happen.
And apps are huge. In the end, we really like them. So it makes a huge difference in between that.
And that's the thing still, I think, even with like the Kindle's going to have the Amazon market, but I think people underestimate, and we actually saw a bunch of bloggers and tech writers who went out and tried different tablets, some of them proudly saying that they shall not ever get an iPad. It is much better to have this Android tablet or that one. And 2 or 3 or 4 of them sheepishly bought iPads this week, and yeah, they 180'd really quick. It's just the iPad. It's got so much momentum behind it. I think it's going to take a bit to become that number, unless you're a really distant number two, like in the iPod market where Apple has 70% share and there's a bunch of other players. Very different than the smartphone market, and we still haven't determined which model the tablets are going to copy.
Well, I don't think that either of them really can compete against the iPad on their own. I think that some people might choose to get both. The operating systems on the Fire, you're going to have Gingerbread, you're going to have Froyo on the Nook. Renee, I have to ask the question. I don't know if Seth or you know the answer. What's up with the little corner piece missing? Is that to hook your Nook onto something?
I'm calling this episode Hook Your Nook now, by the way.
On the Nook, on the lower left-hand corner, there is a small little hole in it. Is it just because it's called a Nook? They have a little Nook missing from...
If it was called a cranny, I hate to wonder what it would look like.
That's where you put the micro SD card in, but it doesn't seem like that's necessary to have a piece missing, and now your corner is a little bit off. If I'm playing games, I'm missing a corner of space for my gaming.
Yeah, it's to be determined. We're almost out of time, George. Anything else you want to cover?
Okay, sorry. Someone says that it's for a lanyard.
All right.
Put that onto your pants. That'd be hilarious.
You can wear it like Kevin wears his playbook. Flavor Flav style, yo.
That would be funny. It could be an earring or a necklace.
Yep.
We have, of course, Leanna again has all of the different apps for that, and the picks of the week. Go check them out. And we also have the application Get Social with Your Art from Mixel for the iPad.
Have you seen this, Georgia? I don't know if you've tried it or not, but basically you do it like I can go to the web and find a bunch of pictures and cut them out and make a collage with them and save it, and then you and Seth could like take it apart and make mixes of my collage and resave them. They become part of a big long social stream of collage, and I don't know if it's genius or incredibly scary, but it comes from Khoi Vinh, who was the designer behind the New York Times website for several years. So I mean, it's well put together.
It sounds like an interesting idea, but an interesting idea that I don't think that will catch on or will not have any use and or purpose thereafter. Sorry. Is that harsh? Is that too harsh?
Yeah, that was harsh, man.
Okay, then.
Seth?
Georgia has spoken.
Well, Georgia hates social, so before anyone starts, emailing Coy, I mean, Georgia does not use Facebook. She barely uses Twitter, and she doesn't like any of us on the panel here today. So the idea of collage, Georgia would love a great collage app, but a collage app that socially streams her collages.
I do collages on my own, and I love the art of collage.
Just sharing it is not her thing.
But why? And I don't want anyone else to share their collage.
All right,
art
you
with
can
me
keep your
either.
collages to yourself. No one wants to share with you anyway.
Yeah.
Though
Taking my
Seth's
Mixel and I'm
cat-
going home.
The cat collages cracked me up, though. That might give me a little bit of.
You could Mixel with Seth,
chuckle.
like no big thing, right? It's just the masses you don't want to Mixel with.
Well, let's go on.
All right.
Okay.
Mixel Pix, I want to say it. Mixel Pix.
Mixoplex. There we go. Back in time. Well, I think that is most of the news for this week. So I would like to say thank you so much, Seth, for joining us.
Thank you, Georgia. Pleasure's always to be here.
Great. And how can we find you?
You can follow
If
me
those who are wishing to stalk Seth.
Yes. You can follow me on Twitter at Seth Clifford. I'm on the other Tippy show, iPhone Live. I'm on Iterate with Renee and Mark Edwards of Bajango. And if you'd like to check out some of the apps and sites we build, our website is nfidm.com. We're Nickelfish, damn it.
You have to change your official name to that for sure.
I'm going to start saying it really politely like that.
I love it. That makes it so much better. And I'd like to say thank you so much to Renee for joining us and to doing all this fancy editing and, yes, bottom half.
Thank you for having me on, Georgia.
How do we find you, Renee?
You can find me on Twitter at Renee Ritchie. You can find me on Tippy.com. You can find me at MobileNations.com. We are doing a plethora of shows, like 10 or 12 or 14 shows a week now. And we have a couple more we're going to be launching soon. So check it out. I would love to hear your feedback on them.
For those that say more is better, we will have that.
More is more.
And Renee?
Yes, Georgia.
What will be happening right after the show?
Oh, we're going to do Zen and Tech, so stay tuned. Georgia has incredibly stressed me during the show, and now she has to fix me.
And you can find me on Twitter at GeorgiaTIPB and on the website, www.tippy.com. And, of course, Zen and Tech's coming up right after this. You can reach all of us on Twitter at Tippy. You can reach us at podcast@tippy.com. Leave a comment when the show goes live, or else. We're here every Sunday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And our companion show, Renee?
iPhone Live. You can find that Wednesday night. Same bat time, same bat channel. Be there.
www.tippy.com/live for all our podcasts, including, there's going to be like a million of them, but I'll take a deep breath and try to go through. iPhone Live, iPad Live, Zen and Tech, Super Functional, Iterate, Girls Gone Gadgets, Stock Talk, and much more. See mobilenations.com. That was one breath. If you haven't already, please subscribe to all our shows on iTunes and leave a rating. It helps people find us and means a lot to us. Thanks to the Tippy iPad accessory store for sponsoring the podcast and to everyone who showed up live. Hearts.
High def hearts.
And yes, the next Girl Gone Gadgets should be, I believe, in 2 weeks or so.
Whenever Georgia deems necessary.
Yeah, and about that.
Whenever you've recovered from the last one.
Yes, exactly. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us.
End of line. So, hate mail, that goes to georgia@tippy.com. If you're a developer, if you're on the iTunes Match team, if you work for Mixel, if... I'm running out of... I'm going through the list. Hold on, I might have forgotten a couple here.
Oh, I'm going to get a lot of
If you're the person who put the Nook on the Nook, yeah, if you work for Facebook, if you are in charge of battery life or the 3G switch on iOS 5.0, and...
Yeah, that's...
She had her Hulk pants on today, Seth.
I was trying to just stand clear.
I know.
Oh, damn. Yeah, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty.
No, you laid
I'm
waste.
going to have a whole bunch of people. I'm never watching this show again. I'm sorry to.
No, watch. Tell her she's wrong. I mean, send email. Maybe she's right. If you think Seth and I are, don't have the Georgia Stones to say these things, you write in and tell us. And if you think that Georgia's out of line, you write in and tell us.
Everyone's going to be sending me a lot of Kool-Aid after this.
But mostly send everything to Georgia.
Yes.